All right, let's get right into it. I got my SpongeBob shirt. This is week number 5, lick number 5, which makes it lick of the week number 5. Probably the first thing I ought to do before I really get into this lick is take a moment to say thank you to 2 drummers that have really helped me out with this lick this week. The first one being Steve Carpenter of Messenger Vessel. He took the time to tell me, because I sent him a video with just a click track, and I was like, man, this lick don't feel right. I'm doing something wrong. And he was the one that kind of told me, he's like, man, you're missing your own step. You know, slow it down, figure it out, and then speed it back up to where you were. I ended up kind of doing that. I ended up taking a drum beat instead of a click track. That way I knew where I was in the actual rhythm pattern, which helped a bunch. But huge thanks to him. By all means, check Messenger Vessel out. His other band in the past was DeadFaceDown. Really good music. I suggest checking both out. The other person I want to give thanks to is Josh Belcher, who is currently playing with Adam Parker and the Bourbon Cowboys. You can also check him out in the older days in Elysium. I believe it's under facebook.com/ElysiumWV. More than anything, he really helped me out. I don't know how to do cadence notation. I can do tablature all day. I can't do cadence. And so I sent him the same video I sent Steve, and he counted it out, and he was like, dude, your first measure is 3/4. He's like, you got 2 measures of 6/8, and he's like, and then you got a dotted half note that you're in and on. And he was like, it's kind of free time, but he was like, it's still countable. And a huge thanks for him taking the time. I mean, I'd already kind of made up my mind with Steve that, you know, I was going to redo the beat. But I always, you know, it's not the fixing, it's the person taking the effort to help you fix it. And so to Steve and Josh, I give major thank yous, and either in the comments or else down here at this little part of the screen, I'm going to make sure that, you know, there's links there available so you can check these guys out. All right, there's so many things I want to note because I feel like you all deserve some notes. First thing I want to note is that this week's examples were done with TH3 Overloud with the amp head. It's a DV Mark, and it's on the red setting. And I believe a DV Mark ain't a copy or a generic of another amp. I think DV Mark is an actual brand. Haven't played them. I want to keep it honest with you because you're going to see this Randall in the background, and you're going to be like, man, how did he get that sound out of the Randall? I didn't. But it provides me better control so that I can turn it up, so that I can set a drum beat behind it without latency. It gives you all a better chance of learning the actual lick instead of going, what's he doing here? I can't hear that, or I can't hear the drums. It's a little bit off. It should take care of that. All right, one thing that I think is really important to note about this particular lick is that the volume knob is heavily involved. And this idea or trick I had learned because somebody explained to me to Jimmy Page back in the Led Zeppelin days. You know, before he had an overdrive pedal. I don't even know that overdrives were on the market yet. He would take his volume knob and turn it down to 7 for the rhythm pieces, and then whenever it was time for him to crank and be over top of the bass and the drums soloing, he would turn it to 10. Gave him more girth, gave him more distortion, most likely gave him a little bit of a volume boost. I mean, funny enough, the guitar's volume knob, it has a little bit to do with volume, but it's got a lot more to do with the dynamics and how much is being picked up. So with that, the example I'll give you, you know, I'm doing it by ear. As I said, you know, this knob doesn't got markings on it. So that's 10. That's 10 right there. And what I usually do is hit an A. And I know that that's about how distorted I want this lick. That way you get that Billy Gibbons, the distortion's there, but it's not overwhelming sound. I think that that's very key to this lick. So to get into the theory behind this lick, there's a lot more technique going on than there is music theory. This is a very slow lick. I'm presenting it in a 3/4/4/4 at 87 beats per minute, so it's not like you're shredding. As I stated before, it actually feels like it loses a lot of the zazz if you shred through it. It's meant to be a slow lick. There's supposed to be emphasis, there's supposed to be mood, there's supposed to be tension and all that stuff. Alright, so with this lick, now that we've gotten the basic settings and all that stuff down, what you're doing is that you're doing a 10th fret on the 2nd string, and it's bending up to the equivalent of 12th fret. So, and then you're hitting 10th fret 1st string, and then 7th fret 1st string. So it's going. Now you can rake that, or you can skip raking. That's fine too. That's how I presented the lick originally. It's like the difference between saying the and the. Whichever one suits you better, go for it. You're doing that 3 times, and you'll notice it's got a real 3/4 flavor. You know, 1 2 3, 1 2 3, 1 2 3, 1 2 3. Even the bend, 1 2 3. So that's the first phrase of it. It's you know, if you're going to look at it from a theory perspective, it's A bent up to B, D, then B. That last bend, it's kind of flirting between a B and a B flat, just to kind of add some tension in there. The next pattern, this is the one that this lick really, the standout point of it. And I've had people say that it was a trill. I've had people say that, you know, it was a finger tap. It's not. What I do, and I'm breaking a rule here, you know, usually if you're going to do a unison bend, you'd be using these fingers on the 9th. You'd use your index, or no, I'm sorry. You use your middle and your ring fingers. But because of the extra notes that I'm adding in there, you've got to practice doing it only with the middle finger. The thing with doing it with that finger is it opens up your ability to use your ring in the lick. And the best way I know to do this is to break this down into 2 different segments for the same lick, because you've got a pedal point going, but it's a bend. And this bend really gets you into, I guess it'd be microtones, because you'll notice if you practice the bend alone, and like I said, you're going to have to get comfortable with that middle finger. It's kind of like a, because it's 9th fret 3rd string bent up to 11th to start with. So it's an E to an F sharp. And it's basically, so as you can tell, there's different note values going on. There's I think 6 different note values. So it's kind of like a F sharp, somewhere between F and F sharp, and then F, and then somewhere between E and F, and then all the way down to E. So at the same time, while that's being your pedal point, you're playing a Dorian scale down, which is 10th fret 1st string, 9th fret 1st string, 7th fret 1st string, then 10th fret 2nd string, 9th fret 2nd string, 7th fret 2nd string, 7th fret 2nd string, and 9th fret 3rd string, which is your bent note. But the other part of this pattern that you want to practice, and for that part you do want to use true fingering. It's now note wise you're playing D, C sharp, B, A, G sharp, I guess that'd be F sharp, and then E. But it's straight down the Dorian scale. But get that down first, and then at the same time get the I guess it'd be a complex bend, then you want to throw them together. And since we're using this finger, the middle finger, to bend it, it's going to go. Let me try to get in close just for this one piece. And then fast it'd be. And that's the other reason that I turn that down to 7. It gives some room for that 9th fret pedal point, the E, because otherwise if you crank to 10 like I am right now, it's kind of got a. Unless you're going to slap your pick around like that, it kind of, this note can really blur the other notes. It's kind of. But if you turn that down, see how much more clarity there is, but you still got your distortion. So the next lick that I do is just a very simple 3rd string, 7th fret, 9th fret, 7th fret, and then I dip down to 4th string, 9th fret, and I bend it to that 11th fret equivalent. Note-wise, you were playing D, E, D, let me think here for a second, B, and you're bending up to that C sharp, and then back down. The reason I think it's really cool to catch your own little nuances. I'm a really big fan, if you go back and look at, I think it was Lick of the Week number 2, I'm a really big fan of when the audience thinks that the lick's resolved, to throw in that last little bit. I mean, it's almost like when you catch plates and you can feel them go off balance. You're like, oh, geez, and then you catch them. It's got the same effect. It's just a. So after you hold that out, you know, you're going to go, and this is a very good run to know because a lot of your blues does this for a turnaround. You're going to play 5th string, 7, 8, 9, and then 3rd string, 7. You're string skipping in there, but it's up. Now, I usually bend with a 4 count, 1, 2, 3, 4. But note-wise, this is E, F, F sharp, and then D. Now, I did the lick that way so that if you wanted to, instead of being stuck using the same lick over and over, you could just be like. Just as an idea. It leaves about 2 phrases depending on how you're playing, because really that's only a half a phrase. You know, if you come in with that, that's its own phrase, and then you got one more phrase to go. So total of 4 phrases to do your 12-bar blues trick. I have given you 2.5. As always, take your time, work through the technique. Switch the scale up, switch the tempo up, switch the note choice up, switch where you're doing your pedal point at. Send me a copy of it and say, hey, man, I did it better than you. Hey, man, you know, I switched it up. You can message me that stuff. I'm not trying to make you put it out there for the world to see and be embarrassed. I just enjoy the fact of taking the time to do this and seeing people actually make use of it. So with that, and also, if you got any questions, comments are wide open. With that, take this lick, make it your own, take care, be safe, and as always, keep riffing.